Welcome to the Dark Nook Monster Shop. It's Halloween time, and that means cheap foam dollar store pumpkins and Halloween DIYs to make them into monsters. I start by drawing the face on the pumpkin. Then, I cut some wire to be the legs, and I use a bit of the bent up wire as a staple to hold the legs on, and I secure that with a bunch of hot glue. The trick to crafting with foam clay is you have to make parts ahead of time. So I use my paint tray to make the eyes. By pushing little balls of clay into the round paint mixing depression, I get a nice smooth rounded surface. I also make a few regular round balls for eyes. I bend the wire into spidery legs. They don't have to be perfect right now because I'll sculpt over them later with even spiderier legs. Now a day later and the eyes are dry, nice and smooth. You voted for more pumpkin than spider, so I decided that instead of a spidery pedipalp thing, or what I just call mouth fingers, I'd make a big mouth filled with teeth and just kind of put fingers on the side. I cut around the eyes and mouth and remove the thin vinyl skin covering the foam. Then pick out some of the foam to make room for eyes and teeth. Then I hit it with a heat gun. Now it's time for sculpting. I start with some pink foam clay, mush it all in there real good, and fill the whole mouth up. Then, I take some pre-made fingers that I made for another project and push those into the mouth to make sort of spider-like mandibles. Now teeth! I made these teeth out of polymer clay, and one of them is made out of plumber's putty. At this point, I just have a whole box of bits and parts from other Halloween crafting projects that I just use to make new monsters. I'm kind of a real-life Sid from Toy Story. For now, I just poke these into the clay. I'll coat them with Mod Podge later, and that'll act as a glue to hold them in place. I want these to be jagged and kind of shark-like, because why not? Hey, if you're still watching, thanks for checking out my video, and please hit like and subscribe. If you have any pumpkin suggestions, leave one below in the comments. Now I start adding orange foam clay. You don't have to use orange clay. I'm going to paint over it so it could be any color. I just have a lot of orange. I shape out some of the facial features and build up the wrinkles. Then I fill in where the eyes will go. This will let me position them easier. Then I add all the eyes and blend them in and smooth it with water. Now I refine and add more detail to the face to give it a more pumpkin feel. I use a texture stamp because foam clay is remarkably good at holding texture, as you can see. Then I smooth it with water, just to soften the texture a bit. Now, I build up areas around the eyes to sort of mimic an expression, while not actually losing that blank, emotionless stare that makes spiders so creepy. Then I start adding foam clay to the legs, and make sure to cover all the hot glue spots. I'm making the legs in 3 segments and letting each segment dry before starting the next one, so it's going to take about 3 days, and this is day 1. Once the pink clay is dry, I move on to the next segment of the leg. I pinch the clay around the wire and shape it into a spiderier leg shape. Then I add even more to the face and eyes, and smooth it with water and a medium firm brush, or you could even use a soft brush just cut short. Foam clay blends so well, you can almost thin it down and use it as paint. Each day I add more clay and refine the sculpt more. Foam clay is very versatile once you realize you have to use it in stages to get the best results. I add a little bit to the stem and carve some more pumpkin-y details. This is a pumpkin spider after all, with shark teeth. I add some more clay to the high points to build out the pumpkin shape, then smooth and shape the clay with water. You can really see what I mean about how thin you can get this material. I add some Mod Podge to the ends of the legs to act as glue for the last leg segment. These don't have a bend in the wire to give them support, so I don't want them breaking and sliding off. so I use a little glue. Once the legs are all shaped out, I place the pumpkin spider on a roll of masking tape to hold it up while the clay dries. I also add some more stem. Then I use water to smooth the rest of the body. I had to replace one of the eyes. That's why it's white. I did that off camera. Then I added more Mod Podge to the mouth to make it look nice and wet. Then once that's all dry, I can add some more detail to the leg joints by adding little clay worms and then smoothing them out in one direction. And I finish it off with a bit of vine for the stem. Now it's time for paint. I mix half black paint and half gloss Mod Podge, then paint the eyes, the legs and around the mouth, and some of the lower points. Then I do a flat black base coat. Say that 3 times fast. I add a red wash to the eyes and mouth, making sure to get red all over the inside of the mouth. I paint some red in the low points, and then sponge orange over that. I coat the whole thing in Mod Podge, and then I sponge on more oranges. I paint the legs with greens and yellows to mimic a vine look, and then a lighter yellowish dry brush to pop the textures and details on the pumpkin. A final few coats of glossy black and Mod Podge for the eyes and mouth fingers, and the pumpkin spider's done! Thanks for checking out my video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the YouTubey things that YouTubers do.